What's going on, guys? So I just got back from Ace. See the bolts that were for the water block, very long. So I went ahead, I got actually two sets of two different lengths, just in case these were too short, which they shouldn't be. Probably end up using these. So I just brought this in and took one of the nuts out and just made sure I got the right size. I don't remember exactly what size, 30 millimeter, something like that, I don't know. Anyway, you can see they're like 20 some cents per screw, so you just put them in the bag, and yeah, a couple bucks, we got some different sizes to work with. So let's go ahead and put the water block in, and boy, this thing is just nasty. So, I think today we'll also clean this up, get the rest of the sticker off, and just give this whole thing a good wash. That way it's ready to start cutting into once we get to that point. For now, we'll set it to the side. And now we can actually install our water block. So we're going to do that real quick. We're going to put some thermal paste on there. I don't remember exactly which kind. There's a bunch of different ones on Amazon. Just get one of the top rated ones. There's so many and they all ship quick. So I don't remember exactly which one I have. I'll have to grab it. But anyway, I gotta take the plastic off the bottom of our water block. And then I don't know if we'll actually use the springs. I guess we can. I didn't do it on the other one, and as long as you have even pressure around there, you don't want to screw one down really tight, because then it's just going to do this, and then you're going to have a hard time putting the other ones on, and if you do put them all on that tight, it's going to bend the motherboard or warp it in some way. So I think I'm going to use these thumb screw style nuts on there instead of the regular ones. And you definitely need to use washers. It comes with washers. Otherwise, the head of the screw will fall through that hole there. So, okay. So, yeah, the shorter screws are great. I could have used the longer ones. They wouldn't have stuck out past the water block, but I still just wanted to have all the clearance I could get. So, right, so we've got, it came with 8 washers. So we got the screw, washer, motherboard, block, second washer, and then the thumb nuts. And then basically you just kind of slowly tighten each one. And basically you're just trying to make sure the water block doesn't slide around. You can see how it's not moving at all. So I try to move it side to side. Any tighter than that, you're going to start to warp the board. So after getting it on, you want to double check from the sides that it doesn't look like it's bowing or anything like that. I've put plenty of these on, so I've gotten pretty good at it, so everything looks good. So now we'll kind of have to map out what we're going to do with that. It doesn't quite fit in between those two screws, but as you can see, if I use the longer screws, it wouldn't allow the pump to sit right here. If they stuck out farther, then this wouldn't really fit. So anyway, that's probably where it will go, and this is where I like to keep the drive, power supply, and all that, at least those two, in its spot, so that we know exactly how much room we've got all around. So for example, see, this is still kind of dirty. This kind of goes right here, and that should work with a 80 millimeter radiator. Sort of fit between there. Either way, this fan that's going to blow down through the radiator and into the system is what's going to help push air through our power supply. You still definitely need some airflow through that, so that works out good. And yeah, that's more or less what it should look like. I'll have to see exactly how much this kind of sticks out. We'll probably just do like we're doing on the eyeball Xbox, where the whole thing will just sit over it, and I'll just cut this square out, and then obviously for the radiator, which the radiator might just sit on top of the actual case itself. and the pump will kind of be inset inside a little bit, and it'll just have an extra little cutout just for our 90-degree to fit there, because it probably won't fit underneath the actual case, but it might. We'll see. So that's our next step. Okay, I'm back and I've done nothing. So I decided to double check that this is going to work, because I'm like, I don't know, that seems really close. And I was right to check. So that's not going to fit. And there are other 90s that are a little bit shorter, but not that much shorter. Okay. And even if it was going this way, just not even really close. So the only way is, for this water block at least, I could put in the XSPC one, but I'm just not willing to get rid of that one. I'm sorry. So we're going to have to turn this 180 degrees and have the ports on this side where there's plenty of room. We can have them go any way we need, which means the pump is going to have to go somewhere else. Now, I actually just realized this. Instead of having it back here, it would be slightly lower to just literally have it right on top of where the water block is. And then it could even just be facing this way and go literally straight down into the water block. And I mean, it should be strong enough to where it's fine like that. Otherwise, you know, it'll kind of just be mounted maybe to this top. I don't know. This is going to be a tricky one. Now, the non-disc version, the all-digital version, is exactly the same. It's the same exact console. They literally just take the drive out and cover up, you know, there's no slot here. Yes, that would have been a nice way to go. There would have been all this room over here, but regardless, whether this is mounted up here or down here, it's going to be sticking out quite a bit from the top of the system. Now I think maybe with this water block I could have still fit that other pump here, but now that this has to be going this way, that wouldn't work either. So first things first, I gotta turn this around 180 degrees, and then we'll probably have the pump mounted in the back here. And yeah, we're just gonna have to go from there. As far as the radiator, at least we've got plenty of room now for it. I could probably even get a second one, excuse me, a second one, you know, here, for extra cooling, but that would double the budget. That would double that part of the budget. Although this was super cheap, you know, it was like 12 bucks, so adding another 12 bucks to have double the cooling power wouldn't really be a problem, especially since this is already a vent, this whole area. So even if I just cut out this section for the radiator, there's still, you know, gaps here and there. So this is going to be a tricky one. Alright, so I think I figured out exactly what I'm going to do here for the most part. So, move this out of the way. We got our water block turned around, and then I thought, well, if I just use a regular 90-degree fitting, I can basically connect the radiator right to that and have it in this position here instead of sideways like I planned originally. And then this side will still fit a 90-degree fitting without getting in the way, or without these things getting in the way here, these capacitors. Now this one may or may not fit on there. This is the one I test fitted it with, and it seemed like it would be perfect. Basically, I mean, I gotta take the motherboard out of the frame to do it, but just kind of rotate this radiator over, I can screw that on, rotate it back. This can also rotate this way. Now, the only problem with this 90-degree fitting, I put the power supply in, and it's just barely not tall enough. So I've got other 90-degree fittings I can try. I mean, if I put this one on the water block, it technically sticks up higher than this one would, just enough that I think it would clear that power supply perfectly. Or I could even have it like this one on there, or have it mounted this way where it would pull the radiator forward just enough to where it's not interfering with the power supply. And then for the pump, I think what we're going to do is mount it sideways like this, and we're basically going to use this bracket on the disk drive. That's going to make it sturdy enough, because I don't want to put all the weight here on the hard drive, although it'd probably be okay. Like I said, this pump, I'd have to weigh it, but it's definitely got some heft to it. So again, I wouldn't want to put it right on the disk drive and put pressure here. It might flex a little bit and affect the disk inside. So having it on this one, even if this flexes a tiny bit, it's not going to push on the drive at all. I would have to rotate the bottom part of the pump either 90 or 180 degrees just so that the wires aren't coming out the top and then having to go back down. If we put it on the side, we can have it go straight down, put obviously some kind of sleeving here and get rid of the rest of this cable there. But a little bit of sleeving just to make it look clean, because you'll still see whatever tiny bit goes from here straight down into the system. And so anyway, basically we'll probably, this port would be blocked, of course. I guess I could also use that as a return, but I mean, it would kind of bypass the reservoir. Anyway, probably put a 90 degree on the exit of the pump, so it'd go straight that way. And then it would kind of loop around the water block, go up, this is underneath, go up into our radiator, go through the radiator, straight down into the water block, and then a 90 degree coming out of here. That would basically go straight up back into our reservoir. Top or bottom, we'll see. Probably the bottom one, and then the top one will be used as a fill port. And I can either just put a 90 on here, that would be permanent, that you could use for filling, or it would just have to be filled while it's kind of sitting upright on your lap, which is what I've done for like the PS3 Slim. I just kind of prop it up while I'm filling it, then get it as high as I can until all the air bubbles out, and then once it's all running good, just kind of top it off till it's fully filled up. So I think that's going to be our best bet. Now when it comes to going around these tight turns, I already have several of these. This is a 3/8 for 3/8 tubing barb, 90 degree, just so that the tubing itself isn't trying to make that turn, so I don't have to worry about it kinking. And yeah, like I said, I think it would be, I kind of like that this would be sunken down a little bit into here. Whether it's above or below, I'm going to have to cut out the full size of the radiator in the top so that this will slide over. And obviously the same for the pump. There'll be a cutout where this whole thing sticks out. And to be honest, I've actually thought about just cutting out, at least on this side, an entire window anyway, so I wouldn't have to worry about cutting out the specific shape. And then we would just fill the rest with plexiglass, and I can cut out the plexiglass to fit around the pump. This side, I don't know, I think I still would want to keep, not do a window on this side, because one, I think this would kind of blend in nice, especially it will have something to paint. I didn't think about that either. If I cut this whole thing out, I mean, obviously it'll still look nice painted. Besides some of these blemishes, I can't really do much about that. Unfortunately, the spare one I have doesn't have these little chips in it. It's just as dirty, which both of them are going to clean up and look fairly new. The other one doesn't have these little chips on the corners, but it looks like it got melted a little bit in the back. So there's a little something going on in the back of the other one. So I'll just have to decide which one's going to look better. Either way, when it's fully painted and cleaned up, besides the little chips, it's still going to look pretty nice. Anyway, yeah, so I think that's our game plan. I'm going to have to end this video soon, and we'll start on the next part, which will hook up all the wiring, officially have the loop set up. We might even do a test on the loop, just to make sure all the wiring's good and that the loop's going to work. And then, like I said, obviously this is going to sit on the very top. Even though it sticks up a little higher, it's still about the same as the pump, so I think that's all good. And then we'll probably still see if we can squeeze a 40mm fan underneath the radiator, just so that not only is this pulling air down, but then we've got something that's pushing the air across this way as it goes through and out the back of the system. Either there or maybe somewhere in the middle of the system that's not in the way of the, you know, where the tubing's going. And then we should still have enough room up front to put our temperature display right in front of the radiator, and that looks perfect. And so yeah, that should hopefully all work out. Yeah, so I know a lot didn't seem to get done so far, but I like to show this process. I mean, I usually don't show this process, but this is a huge part of making these. It's spending a lot of time tinkering around with orientations of our different pieces. And like I said, anybody could just buy this like an all-in-one cooler, slap it on there, put a water block, drill a couple holes, and just plug it in. But I don't know, that's just not fun to me. I don't see the point in water cooling it if you're just gonna buy an all-in-one cooler, save that for a PC that you're not gonna see, you know. But you know, I actually like to show off the pieces in there, and you be able to see the fluid going through the system and all that, and still have it to where it's hopefully efficient. Um, so yeah, before I talk too much, I already have one last thing. I've always really liked the idea of being able to put this up front. The problem is our RF board goes across this whole front here, and yeah, we're not going to cut into that or anything. So anyway, in the meantime, I'm going to get this cleaned up, and then the next video we will officially have all the fittings we're going to need and tubing for our loop, and have the wiring set up so that we can hopefully do a test, filling and draining the system, make sure everything's good. And then after that we will jump into having to cut and paint all this. And I mean, once that's cut and painted and all the wiring's good, we'll have a final assembly. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I still have another day left on the donor system that I had to get for our eyeball 360. And then, honestly, once that's in, I'll probably just be finishing that one first. Because that one I've been working on well before I started the Xbox One, and we just want to get that one finished. And then, while that one's finishing up and I'm making those videos, you know, I'm going to deal with all the little boring stuff on this, and then we'll get back to finishing up this build and getting this one for sale as well. So, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.